everyone, and welcome to MoveCo Live. My name is Samantha Moonsammy Gordon, your host for today's show, and we are into the 7th episode. And we started this show while we've been together at home, figuring out this pandemic, and we wanted to bring to you some amazing health and wellness tips so that you can continue to live your best life and, feel that connection with all of us across Canada, coast to coast to coast. And I want to say a big thank you to the Green Beaver Company for powering up our show and supporting our movement. I wanted to show you what I've been using right now for the Green Beaver. So these two things, and I know Lydia knows them well too, these are two products that, especially the sun's out now in Canada's capital, so sunscreen is a must. So what I do is I actually use their sensitive skin face cream and their sunscreen. I mix it together to put on my face, and then I put this sunscreen on my body. And you'll notice I am using kids sunscreen, and I would say if you have kids at home, why not just buy everything kids and everyone use it? Like, they're all safe and great organic products. So if you've never heard of the Green Beaver, head on over to our website, movecamp.ca, pick up a free $10 gift card for your first purchase, and you will also receive a promo code for all the listeners today, 25% off to shop all summer long. So thank you again, Green Beaver. And I'm here with my friend Lydia. Lydia, how are you doing today? I know sunny weather is like your favorite season. How's life?
Yes, I'm doing awesome. I've been waiting for this weather since September.
I know, exactly. But I have to say, Lydia's been bringing the sunshine since like day one, since we've been like all locked up at home. Like, she's had an over 7-week series of free fitness online, and now she's created a community online, and they're still doing their thing. And you were definitely a big part of my sunshine during all of this time. So thank you, Lydia, for being you and just sharing with us your expertise and joy.
Yeah, well, it's honestly, for me, it was just a great way for me to give back, right? Like, it's, I look at my life and my skills and what I can offer people. And, I'm not a frontline worker. I am so appreciative of them, and my sister is one, but I'm like, how can I help? And I can help by getting, people fit and moving. And I actually just had today, the ladies that I'm working with in my group, where we were saying about, I was asking them, what was a positive that has come out of this situation? Because I think there have been a lot of positives. And that's one of the strategies that we're going to talk about today. And a few of them actually said that they've been exercising more since this started, and in part due to my workouts. But I thought that was really amazing that, in fact, they are now becoming more fit and more healthy, even throughout all this craziness. So that was really nice.
You know what? And I have to say that too. So what you taught me is that you don't have to go somewhere else to create something that should be like so part of our everyday life. So when I was doing your workouts, like, I'm in the kitchen. So it's just like, it's right in my space. And you made me realize that, like, it is like, I have my body, which is really all I need. And like, let's just get moving. So there was definitely a mindset shift that's happened in the space, and your coaching and positivity about that has really, really helped. So I'm so glad that other people have told you the same thing, because I agree completely, which kind of goes into, I want people to know a little bit about who you are. And, you're the CEO of a company here called Fit and Healthy 365 in Canada's capital. And of course, you're a virtual trainer too. And you are stress-reduced fat loss practitioner. So for people who don't understand what that is, tell us what that is.
Yeah, so it's actually a new thing that I've been in training for. And basically what it is there's some friends of mine who have been doing this now for the past 20 years and getting some really amazing results. They've studied with a lot of different modalities and put together what they've called the stress-reduced fat loss system. So I'm learning this system and how to help people. And basically what it does is, I'm so thankful that I found this so that I can help people in such a great way. And it's so aligned with what I believe, which is finding the root causes of what's going on in our bodies. So instead of just the kind of Band-Aid solution that a lot of times we're prescribed by medical practitioners, what we do is look at the root cause of your stress. So whether that's physical, metabolic, hormonal, even electromagnetic. So, we advise things like, don't put your phone in your bedroom when you go to sleep, stuff like that. So all that stuff affects your body. And so through this system, I look at those different things, and using nutrition and supplements and lifestyle protocols, we address those issues. And basically what happens is we're actually healing your body, and the byproduct is that you have fat loss. So fat loss isn't always the goal. A lot of times people come to me, they have migraines, they can't sleep, they're feeling bloated all the time, and they're not necessarily overly concerned about weight loss. I mean, it's usually like a thing that's there, but it's not necessarily their primary concern. But what happens is when we heal the things that are causing those ailments and we get at the root cause, the fat just kind of disappears. So it's a really great tool, a great system, and I'm really looking forward to helping more people on it in the next coming months and in the next couple of years.
I love that. And you remind us, and this show's all about it too, like our body is as part of a whole mind body system. And by you helping people, like you're getting to like the core of what's really going on. And I think, we're talking about creating calm today, which has to go with that big S word that is definitely part of our lives. So thank you. I'm so glad that, this is part of your teachings now. It makes it really exciting to see you in this space. So, when I think of creating calm, you actually always come to my mind. We've been friends for a long time and I follow you on social, and, I would describe you as someone who really, you're in the moment, and you also like kind of like do like this slow life practice that you kind of teach us. And it seemed fitting that today we're talking about creating calm, and that you're going to be the one who is sharing some great ideas with us today. So I want to just dive right in here now and tell me, like, for the listeners who, like they're really struggling with this right now. I mean, it's obvious for most of us, like we're in our confines of our home, and that looks very different for everybody. We're living with people and pets and all of these different things, and this is a whole new life. And maybe you're homeschooling your kids, maybe you're working full time, maybe you're both out of work. Like there's so much stuff going on. So tell me, like, what's something that anybody can take on right now for some simple ways to really ground them in this space of calm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have 12 strategies that I share, and we're going to dive into most of them in a few minutes, but I really want to share the two big things that I find are super key. I mean, it's so hard to pick the most important ones, but the two ones that I find are like, you can do right away. Number one, 100%, and I know you will agree with me, Sam, on this, is deep breathing. I know you practice meditation, and I know you know the value of it, but for those who don't know, super quick science for 1 second. When we get stressed, our amygdala fires up, it tells our body there's danger, and then that triggers a whole series of things that happen within our body. So and I'm sure that you can relate. So we get that like quick breathing, right? We have cortisol and adrenaline that are released into our body. We have our blood flow, that our blood flows to our major muscles. And the reasons for that is because essentially we're prepping our body to fight real danger, like literally a bear, a tiger. We hear these actual examples. Yes. We don't have to fight bears and tigers anymore, but unfortunately our body still reacts in the same way. What's cool about the breath is that out of all these reactions that happen just automatically right away within the body, the breath is the only thing that we have conscious control over. We can't control the hormone release. We can't control where our blood's flowing. We can't control our, heart rate and blood pressure. We can control our breath. And I think that's so amazing that we have this ability to at least control something in our situation, and when we have a moment of acute stress. And so what you want to do is just take a few minutes, slow things down, and take some nice deep breaths. So there's a few key pointers here. So you want to breathe in through the nose, hold, and then out through the mouth. And you want to breathe in about 3 to 4 seconds, hold for 5 to 7, and release for about 5 or 6. If you do that for 2 minutes, I guarantee you're going to feel a lot more calm. What we're doing is we're telling our body that it's okay, and that we can calm down, and that there isn't danger, and some of those other processes start to slow down. Again, I don't want to go too deep in this right away, but essentially, what are some of the things that happens if you're in that stressful moment, for example? your body is not prioritizing digestion. So if you're always feeling stressed, or your body, there's a difference. Sometimes there's a difference between when we mentally feel stressed and when our body is stressed. Sometimes we don't realize our body is stressed, and that's part of the problem. But when your body is stressed, it's not prioritizing digestion, which could be a lot of times why you eat and you feel bloated, even if it's not food that is causing inflammation or that sort of thing. A lot of times it can actually do with stress. So there's a lot of things happening in your body with stress. Deep breath is going to help calm things down within the body. So that's number one for sure, your first line of defense, especially in a moment what I would call acute stress, where you kind of get those, almost that panicky feeling, right? Definitely the breath. The second thing relates to more chronic stress, or like that just anxiously overwhelmed feeling, and that is clutter. Surprise! You maybe weren't expecting that, but there is proof that shows when you, and I know Sam, because I came to your house and remember how we decluttered your bedroom and you felt so much lighter after? There's scientific proof that when you have a decluttered space, your brain automatically feels more calm. So I don't want to overwhelm. So what I would recommend is focus on two areas. Your bedroom. So the bedroom, first off, is only for sleeping and sex. That's it. It should be clear of like laundry baskets, dirty laundry, televisions, all sorts of other stuff, papers everywhere. It should be your sanctuary, where you can feel calm and relaxed, because those are very important for us in terms of being able to fall asleep and stay asleep and feel calm in our space. So I would focus on decluttering your bedroom, and it doesn't have to take long. It can be, a pretty quick process. And then the second thing I would say for right now, because a lot of us are working from home, is to try and have at least a corner maybe of space of what is your workspace that is decluttered. So not a ton of papers if possible, or if you do have papers, that they're organized neatly. There's, things you can get and buy or just makeshift in terms of organizing. So maybe it's just putting things in file folders, or just having little piles. But because we spend a lot of our time working and at our workspace, you want to have that space as tidy as possible. And so those things, the decluttering and the breath, are pretty simple things that you can be doing. Honestly, I don't want to recommend this, but even if you just need to move the clutter from those places to somewhere else and just have the clutter live in another room, that's obviously not the most optimal solution, but at least if you have your bedroom and your workspace clear of too much stuff, you're going to feel instantly more calm when you're in those areas.
I love that. You're right.
And then over time, tackle the clutter as a general thing. If you have too much clutter in your house, little by little, start getting rid of things.
Well, I've heard there's just been this surge of DIY, and, like the Canadian Tires of the world are so busy, because I think everyone spent so much more time at home now than ever. We realize a few things. One, do you really need certain things that you have at home? Because if you haven't even used it in the past few weeks when you've been locked at home, then you probably don't need it. Mm-hmm. And then clothes, I think, is a big one too. So I think many of us have done like a huge overhaul of like, what do you really wear? What's important?
Yeah.
And it does really feel good. So I agree. As someone who has a little baby at home, I actually declutter more now than when I was by myself, because you're right. I think it's about this calmness. Like it's just like, it's a must do now. Like, and my husband too, like
your kids' toys and everything, like everything should have a home. It has a box, or it has a place where it lives. And when you're done playing with one or two toys, those go back before you play with the next ones. And you know.
Exactly. Like like little parking spots, like in your life, and just compartmentalize. And for me also, like, I want to help bring calm to my partner who's out all day at work and he's in a high
Mhm.
stress position. So when he walks in the door, like I can tell, like he can tell the effort I put in, like, oh wow, like she's cleared up. So I feel calm. So I've seen the days when it's done and I see the days when it's not. And it's like
Yeah.
night and day of like our interpersonal time together. So for me, it's a must do. Like these are things now that they're non-negotiables, I think, of, and they don't cost any money. Like it's just
Mhm.
a little bit of time, put on some music and like make it fun as part of your day. And you're also teaching healthy habits to your children or other members of your family to kind of help and do this all together too. So
Yeah.
thanks for those tips. And so what else would you say for some tools to kind of stay calm and carry
Yeah.
on right now?
So if we think about stress affecting us in three different ways, it's like a stress triad. So it affects us on the physical side, it affects us on the cognitive side, and on the behavioral side.
Okay.
And so just quick examples of that. So physical would be things like you get an upset stomach or you get a headache, or you get like the sweats or heart palpitations, those types of things. A lot of times it would be like the stuff that would happen, let's say, when you're doing something out of your comfort zone. Like for a lot of people, let's say public speaking is one of those things. So what happens when you're on, or your boss is like, what do you think about this? And you're like, oh my God, like all of a sudden, all those things that happen, heart starts racing faster. Like those are all the physical signs of stress. From the cognitive side, some things that you would notice would be having trouble remembering. So I think that that's been a thing lately with people, memories. They're probably noticing like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I remember stuff these days? Yeah, it's stress. Or decision making. So having difficulty making decisions or not wanting to be making decisions. That's definitely a symptom or an effect of feeling stressed. Those types of things. Difficulty concentrating, focusing. Those are all things. So if you're experiencing any of those things, first of all, it's normal. But secondly, that is a sign that you are feeling some kind of stress. And then the behavioral side, we see that present as a lot of times withdrawal or hiding. So not wanting to be social or communicate with people. I mean, it's almost a little bit easy now because we're all in our homes, but you can still definitely even withdraw from your partner or family members or friends. It's things like maybe you're more irritable or more apt to be angry faster, you have less patience, you're more frustrated, you get ranty. Again, those are some things that will show you that you are experiencing stress. So number one, it's important to be aware of how stress affects you because it affects everybody differently. And sometimes, like I was saying before, like there's a difference between your body feeling stressed and you perceiving that you are stressed. And usually we perceive our stress level actually lower than what our body is actually feeling. Because a lot of times we've gotten used to, especially if it's persistent stress and the same type of thing all the time, we've kind of gotten used to it mentally, but our body hasn't. So it's important to know how you are experiencing the symptoms so that you can be aware that, oh, my body is stressed. So what can I do about it? So again, one of the number one tool would be the deep breathing. I mentioned that I know you do meditation and I do it as well. That is another really, really important tool that helps on the physical side. It does help on the mental side as well a little bit, but that definitely helps bring your body back down into a state of calm. Again, with a bit of science, when we're in this stressful state, our body comes out of our parasympathetic nervous system. We need to get it back into the parasympathetic nervous system so that our body can start processing and doing the things that it needs to be doing to be healing ourselves, really. So that's another one. Doing something like a body scan where you just kind of close your eyes and you sort of go head to toe and you picture where there's pain, where there's blockages, and you kind of just like breathe in and out and imagine like dissolving it. And I know that sounds a little bit hokey, but that type of thing can actually work. So doing stuff like that, meditation for me, I always tell people that I don't believe there's like a right or wrong way to do it in terms of, how much time is the right amount of time or, do you do a guided meditation or a breathing meditation or whatever? Like really for me, it's whatever works for you and whatever gets you feeling in that state of calm. and whatever works for you to kind of remove yourself from your thoughts, right? For me, that's the big thing where like when you're in a meditation, you're not focused on that one or two or a million things that are going on in your head. I almost imagine it like a lazy river at a water park
Yes,
where you
I do the same.
see the thoughts floating along on the lazy river tubes or whatever, but you're not like grabbing on to any of them. They're just floating by, and you might be like, oh, hi there. Oh yeah, I need to remember about you later, but it keeps going and you don't latch on.
Oh, I love that, and we all have our different practice. For me,
Mm,
I picture a white light, and I have a hole right here at the top of my head.
mm,
So when I feel like I need that meditation time, I typically go and lie down, and I imagine that this white light is going through my body and anywhere where we have holes. So we say that,
mm,
sometimes our chakras are off bounds, and I picture this white light, and it's like filling it up like a cup of water, right? And it's
cool.
going through my system. So by the end, it's kind of like, oh, like my holes are filled, like the light has
Mm,
come in to kind of heal. And even like if you have family members who maybe aren't into it, you can give them a little bit of meditation, like I just put my little 1 year old to sleep, and like imagine him, and I blanket him in a big white light to give him kind of like extra comfort. And I do believe in these energy modalities to really create calm. Like it's definitely
mm.
something in my household that I do to help create that space.
Yeah. And again, like, yeah, so that's sounds like yours is less guided. For me, I like the guided because I get distracted easily by my thoughts. So when I'm listening and I like music in the background, it kind of keeps me focused away from my thoughts because they just keep coming. Um, but again, there's no right or wrong. And, there's apps out there. There's Insight Timer is a really great one,
Yeah,
Calm, Headspace. There's free apps with YouTube even has so much great stuff, great content. So if you're new to meditation, I encourage you to just try a few things and see what works for you because everybody's different and the way what works for me and Sam might not work for you. And there is something that will work for you. So just keep at it. And it is a practice, right? If you feel like you're getting frustrated that you keep um, thinking too much, it's totally normal. And it's always going to be like that. So but you get a little bit better at refocusing on the meditation side of things. So
exactly.
those are some key ones from the physical side. From the cognitive side, the two things that I swear have changed my life, no exaggeration, are writing gratitude and writing affirmations every day.
Me
I
too.
created a journal for myself that has those prompts for me. And every day I write in my journal a list of things that I'm grateful for. I write out some affirmations. I also write out a win from the day before and how I want to care for myself. But I feel like the gratitude and the meditation 100% have just completely shifted my mind. I am a so much happier person from a year ago, and like not even because of circumstances but just because I'm just a happier being. Like it's so crazy to describe.
Yeah.
um, and I know, and I've done the research, and there's actual scientific evidence that our brain actually changes when we do these practices. And our listeners may have heard of something called neuroplasticity, but it basically, which is super cool, and I haven't explored that too much, but what I know of that is that you can actually just change the neural pathways in your brain. When we, and we do affirmations all the time. Affirmations are simply thoughts that we repeatedly say to ourselves. So if we are repeatedly saying negative things to ourselves and about ourselves, that is creating a very strong neural pathway in our brain. And then what we need to do is essentially weaken that neural pathway and create a new one. And you can actually do that through meditation. It's so cool. It's my favorite thing.
Oh,
Um,
I love that so much. Yeah. So for me, I do exactly what you said, and I have cue cards, and I read them
mm,
to myself over and over again. I know people put yellow sticky notes in their bathroom on their mirror, and they say
mm,
them to themselves every time they brush their teeth or go to the
yeah,
bathroom or take a shower.
yeah.
So like it's true, like this stuff works. And then even starting with my 1 year old, I got him a book that's called I Am.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's affirmations, right? I
Yeah.
am love, I am
Yeah.
strong, I am blessed. So like getting him started at a
Mm.
young age of like that self-confidence of this stuff. So I love that you explain the science because I haven't really dived in from that point, but all I know is from my point of view, miracles have definitely happened with this practice.
Yeah.
And definitely feel the joy from doing these things. So thank you.
Absolutely. And a key thing that I tell people, especially from the gratitude side, is like there's no right or wrong. So there's nothing that's too cliche or too repetitive. A lot of times I get this sense, and I've heard from people that they feel like they have to come up with new things every day. 100% you don't. You could write the same gratitude stuff every single day. For me, as long as you truly feel in your heart that you're grateful in that moment, write it down. Even if it's the same, it doesn't matter. Nobody's looking at it anyway, for starters. And it still is totally fine. And the same with affirmations. I kind of find I cycle through different ones. So maybe for like a week or two, I kind of have the same ones. And then depending on circumstances or what I want to work on in my life, they kind of shift and change. If you're unsure about how to write an affirmation, like Sam said, it literally is an I am statement, but sometimes you're at a loss. Honestly, Google is so great. There's so much awesome content on the internet, and you can literally write in, I found one for today. I found some for my clients because in our conversation, I could sense that she had some like self-esteem issues, let's say. And so I just Googled affirmations for self-esteem and like, bam, one link with 100 affirmations, right? So no matter if affirmations for anxiety or for self-confidence, whatever it is, somebody has written about it online, and you can, I find just go with your gut, whatever statements, really strike you. Pick a few of them and write them every single day. Do it for a month and then check back in with me and Sam and let us know how it's changed your life, because I guarantee that will change for sure. So those are two for my like non-negotiables. Absolutely. Some other things are focusing on the positive, and something called so that's one, and then decatastrophizing is another. So this one, just to be clear, I know we're in a global pandemic right now and there are actual serious health risks. So park that. We're not focusing on pandemic related actual problems. Catastrophizing is when we over exaggerate in our minds and catastrophize something that's going on. So a worry or a concern. And we make it out a bigger deal. We make it to be a bigger deal than it actually is. And so the decatastrophizing process, what you basically do is you're breaking down those beliefs. So first off, you think about, what is it that I'm worried about? You ask yourself, how likely is it that this will come true? This is where you realize it's probably not that likely that it will come true. So step one, now you can feel a little bit better that what you're worried about is not that likely to come true. But let's pretend it does. So we ask ourselves, if my worry does come true, what's the worst that can happen? So then we think about, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then you ask, what would I do about it? The beauty in this practice is that, first of all, you regain control of your situation. So a big part about stress is the loss of control and feeling right out of control, overwhelmed. So here we're taking back some control in our situation, and we're anticipating what the worst possible outcome could be and coming up with a solution as to what we're going to do if that thing were to happen. So we regain our control. The other thing that usually happens in the scenario is you realize that the worst thing that can happen is actually not so bad. And then there you can also feel a little bit better because you're like, oh, yeah, that's the worst thing and it's really not so terrible, right? So this is another great practice for kind of bringing things a little bit more back to reality. Again, not related to the pandemic, actual, life or death scenarios, but just general things that we often do. A lot of times people would do this in their workplaces, where they're thinking they have a deadline, they're not going to meet their deadline. And then all of a sudden it goes to like, they're fired and they're not going to have a job, right? And they make this huge giant leap. If you work yourself back, you realize that even if you don't meet that deadline, that PowerPoint deck doesn't get to your boss, by 4 p.m. on Friday, like it's really going to be okay. So that's a great strategy for sure. Some of the other things that are really helpful are laughter, for sure, is a great one. All the sort of self-care type of things. So things like getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, doing fun things, enjoying yourself. These are all really, really great tools and strategies that you can be using. Sleep, for sure, I would say, is pretty much out of sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Sleep is hands down the number one most important thing. If you are not sleeping well, please come talk to me, message me. I have some tips for you. But absolutely, you need to get your sleep under control, because if you're not sleeping well enough, again, I don't want to get too deep in this, but it's going to make you have more sugar cravings. It's going to make you feel more hungry even when you're not. All sorts of other things that can really, you're obviously just going to be more tired, so you're not going to be able to concentrate as well. It really trickles into every aspect of life in a not great way. So we need to get sleep under control. Then nutrition would be next as a priority. And then exercise would be the last thing actually that I would prioritize out of those three. It still obviously is very important. Daily movement is important. But if you're sleeping well and eating well, you're well on your way to really being healthy. Another strategy is setting boundaries. And I think that in our climate right now, this one is very important. I feel like a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of comments about people not following the media too much and kind of staying away from news, which I think is great. They've realized that that triggers stress, and they've set up boundaries. I would also encourage people to think about or pay attention to the negative people in their life and, coming up with a way to set a boundary. So with social media, we have a great, easy way to do that. It's called the mute button, or mute or unfollow buttons, basically. So on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever you're following people, if you don't want to unfriend them, there is a mute or unfollow button or drop down thingy. You find it in the settings. Essentially, you can remove people from your feed who are bringing you down. And I've done that with a lot of people in the last couple months. And it feels so great. I like to keep my feeds, real, but positive for the most part. It's when people are too negative all the time, or especially this conspiracy theorists right now, I have no time for that. But the beauty of social media is that we have all the control over what we see, minus the advertising. But in terms of people, we can actually curate who we want to follow. This is amazing. In normal, like previous to social media, the TV and the radio just told us what to listen to. We had no choice. Now we have a choice and we have the control. So if you feel like you need permission to unfollow people, this is your permission. You don't actually need it, but if you feel like you do, I'm giving it to you. Empower yourself. Take control over what you're ingesting. Pay attention to what is triggering you and decide where you need to have boundaries. If it's family members, obviously that means you might need to be a little more sensitive and delicate, but it's still possible to set up boundaries with family members as well. So I would really encourage people to evaluate where they need to set up boundaries. If you're not sure, then just observe yourself for a few days and kind of see what is triggering for you. Do you get, like, for me, I know that like when I go on Twitter, I can only spend a few minutes on Twitter, because if I start to get too deep into like the comments, it's too much, and I have to just close down the app. So when you learn these things about yourself, you can, when you're more self-aware, then you can make these decisions and take the actions to set up the boundaries.
So refreshing. So refreshing. This is a lot of information today.
Sorry, guys.
What I want to recap from what I just heard is to create calm. Like if you just want to dive right in there, folks, this is what I would do. I would focus on the breathing, get into your bedroom, take a scan, get everything out that doesn't need to be there, because one of the number one things is good sleep. So if you can take care of those three things and then start to bring in the other elements, like I'm telling you, like just hearing all of it right now, I feel calm, I feel good. I'm like, okay, this is, you've already actually made the choice to live a better life because you're listening to this and you want to make, you want to live your best life. And, you're taking this moment to listen to these great tips that Lydia has. And Lydia, thank you so much. Like, I think you took a really big topic and you were able to do it in really bite-sized pieces. But I want to end with something fun. So something you actually reminded me of and my son has reminded me of is the importance of hobbies. And I know that right now people say like, oh, I'm too busy, like there's so much to do. Like, how do I have time to add a hobby, especially like if you're like a new mom or something? And I would actually say like, no, there is time and there is a way. So maybe you can tell some listeners today what are some of your hobbies, and then I'd love to share some of mine.
Oh, let me show you. I will show you a new hobby. I've taken up embroidering.
Beautiful.
Oh, there we
Wow.
go. That's better. Yeah. So I had old jeans, so I used them as my background, and I got some thread. And so I've actually been working in like the fiber arts for a while now, a whole bunch of years doing knitting and crochet. I taught myself crochet thanks to YouTube and a book, and then I taught myself macrame. And then now I'm exploring the embroidery. So those are the fun things that I do. And 100% hobbies, totally agree with. We need to have fun in our life in some capacity, even if it's only 10 minutes a day or 15 or 20 or 30, a minimal amount of time per day, doing something that brings us joy, especially if you're feeling stressed. That is so important. And I would also like to reiterate, Sam, thank you for bringing that up. I have provided a ton of information and a ton of different tools. This is not to make you feel more stressed and to make you feel like, oh my God, I have to implement them all right now. These are tools for your toolbox. Use them when you need them and start slow. Maybe, like Sam said, pick a few, do them, get a little bit more comfortable with them, add in a few others, or as you need, use these tools. Please do not feel overwhelmed with all the information. I am not trying to make you feel more stressed.
I don't think you did. No, what you
Good.
did is just like you created like a rainbow of ideas that we have like
Mhm.
right here at home, which I think is what we're all looking for. We just, like I think they're all things that are common sense, but sometimes we just need a little nudge to hear them again and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, let's not take for granted that these things like sleep, which you have complete control over.
Yeah.
Like, and yes, sometimes it's harder for others to do that, but
Yeah.
there is help out there. And then yeah, like for hobbies, for me, so I did one of the things that you said. I took off all the notifications on my phone, and I
Good.
realized I didn't want to use that as my hobby time. So I downloaded Audible, and I've got my and I also bought a really nice book light. So for me, it was about like reading and choosing the things I want to listen to. So on
Mhm.
Audible, I go for nice long walks with my son. So he's in the stroller, and I'm putting on an Audible, and it just like it's so relaxing, and I get to learn about new things. And then with reading, yeah, using my book light at night, it's amazing. Just instead of looking at my phone to light something up and then I have
Mhm.
to look at what's on the phone, like taking away the technology, I actually turn power off my phone now at night.
Good. Yay!
Yeah, that's huge. And I just read. I read for like 15 minutes and fall asleep. And these little
Mhm.
things have really created more calm. I've realized that I've needed it more than ever in um, this social distancing time. So it's really helped me. And these tools, Lydia, like I'm ready to go with them. So thank you so much for today and your help. And thank
Welcome.
you all our listeners for listening today. You now are empowered with some great information on how to create some calm in your life. And I want to give a big thank you to the Green Beaver Company for supporting our movement. Lydia is actually one of the master coaches too here at Move Camp Canada. So you'll be seeing her all summer long. Tune in at movecamp.ca. You get to see her every week working out and helping us get fit for the summer. So thank you so much. Like, you do so much for our community, Lydia, and just can't wait to continue to spend the summertime with you. And looking forward to the day when we can get outside together and do some of these fun
I
activities.
know. I can't wait to come over for a swim.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're getting the pool ready now. Yeah, you can bike over and enjoy
Yay.
our time. So thank you everyone. Thank you, MoveCo listeners. I wish you an awesome day. Take care.
Bye.